region as deeply worrisome and renewed its call for an immediate de-escalation of tensions. India has urged all sides to pursue a diplomatic solution, stressing that the targeting of civilian vessels and commercial shipping must stop. The attack comes amidst escalating hostilities involving Iran and follows fresh US military strikes, raising fears over the security of one of the world's busiest maritime trade routes. We'll talk about this and get perspective from Ambassador Bhaswati Mukherjee, former diplomat. Commander Bhushan Devan, former Indian Navy officer, is with us on the program as well. Captain Sanjay Karve, former Indian Navy officer, joins us on the show. And last but by no means the least, Mr. Sanjeev Srivastava, foreign affairs expert, with us on the program as well. All right, before we go, there's some breaking news coming in. Well, Iran has announced the suspension of vessel transits through the Strait of Hormuz until stability is restored. The Persian Gulf Strait Authority said ships will not be granted permission to pass through the strategic waterway, blaming recent US military activity in the region. Tehran said that transit requests will be reviewed only after conditions improve as tensions following the US-Israel conflict continue to escalate. All right, let me start with Ambassador Bhaswati Mukherjee. Ambassador Mukherjee, we go twice as hard as they did on Iran. But where does this leave countries like India, who heavily rely on the Strait of Hormuz? Iran is a friend of ours. It calls India a friend of Iran as well. Why should we be a parcel and party of this collateral damage?
That is what is very puzzling, Vineet, because earlier the Iranians had always said that friendly vessels belonging to friendly countries or with a friendly flag would not be attacked. I don't know which flag this particular vessel had. I presume it was not an Indian flag, but still, it was a vessel on the Omani side, not an Iranian side. It had an Indian crew. It appears to me that we have sadly lost one Indian crew member, and when there are talks going on about how to ensure the safety of the Straits of Hormuz so that the entire global economy is not destroyed slowly by this never-ending conflict, it appears to be very alarming that the ceasefire has not just abruptly ended, but President Trump's threats are becoming more and more ballistic by the hour, and Iran is attacking American bases in neighboring countries, which may result in a regional response on Iran, which has not happened so far. If that happens, then Iran will take a huge amount of damage. So I am still hopeful that some common sense will prevail because of the midterms, and that the Americans and the Iranians, through a mediator who is acceptable also to Israel, is able to get a ceasefire. In the meantime, as you rightly pointed out, it is extremely worrying, and the government has taken steps to diversify its oil needs, which are no longer so heavily dependent as they used to be on Straits of Hormuz. But still, considering that 3 days ago we were looking at the possibility of a drop in Indian oil prices, of availability of CNG, LNG, etc., it's very disheartening to see that we seem to have come back to square one, and lower than square one, we are in a worse position than we were even at the height of the hostilities. So it's very disappointing, and I really do hope that in this kind of escalated tension, some tanker does not actually catch fire. That would be highly disruptive for the Straits of Hormuz, and it would result in immediate closure of the strait for some time to come until it can be cleared up. It's a very narrow strait, and these kind of attacks on the engine room of the tanker, I mean, this just makes it fire, so to speak. The tanker, fully loaded tanker, and you are attacking the engine room, which is full of smoke and flames. So it's a very, very disturbing situation.
You're quite right, ma'am, and this is indeed extremely disturbing, Commander Bhushan. So, what are your thoughts on this revival of hostility? Is this going to put more pressure on the Indian economy? Is this going to put more pressure on war being a solution more than conversations, as were we witnessing when Pakistan was brokering these talks between these two nations in Switzerland and elsewhere?
Thank you, Vineet. This 60 days MOU period started on 19 June. We are into 23rd day of that 60-day period now. And the whole issue now is, primary issue is control of Straits of Hormuz. And Iran, since its tankers war of 1988, 8 years Iran-Iraq war, has been preparing to ensure that if the war comes again, which it has come now, it should be able to control Hormuz and put the whole world in pain, or be able to dictate terms. So to that effect, they have their Iranian coast of Persian Gulf. They have fortified it very strongly for many, many years now. And now they have also the northern part of the strait. They have laid mines already, and the 21 nautical miles is the width of the Hormuz Strait. Since 12 nautical miles is the territorial waters of each country. Omanian territory, which is the south, and the Iranian territory, which is the north, it overlaps. Now the point is that whole issue is Iran wants to exercise its control, claim its control of Strait of Hormuz, rightly or wrongly. If America can come and attack on 20th February, while talks were going on in Austria and Oman, with the facilitation of Oman that time, Iran and the talks between America and Iran that time through Oman in Austria and Oman itself were happening. And so now the point is, new Khomeini has said we will avenge the death of our senior Khomeini anyhow, and the whole Western world is against us. They'll pay for it and so on and so forth. So they feel the nuclear bomb which is in their hand currently, in Iran's hand, is nothing but control of Hormuz. To my mind, I mean, this is my perception, how rightly there may be many opinions against it. It's a natural waterway. Iran cannot claim tariff on this. But however, the point is, a VLCC, very large crude carrier, carries 2 million barrels of oil. If Iran is asking for $2 million, which means per barrel the cost goes up only $1. At some plus, instead of it is $70 per barrel, it will become say $75 per barrel. How much of damage has been done to Iran? And before 28th February, in any case, Strait of Hormuz was open. It's only America which came and blocked the whole thing, for whatever reason. And so the point is, to my mind, I think as a sensible thing, a middle path should be found, and under UN resolution or whatever, without citing a precedent. In the armed forces also, government also, we say we are allowing this without citing a precedent. Without citing a precedent, because Iran has been damaged for 6 months or whatever, let us allow tariff of $1 per barrel, which is like to Iran. But there may be different views, no doubt about it. Otherwise, the whole world is suffering. And the two of them are fighting on their ego, and we are all suffering. When elephants make love or they make war, it is the grass which gets buggered, and we are like grass in that case. The point is, because of this control of Hormuz, this is the whole story now. And in the meanwhile, let me tell you, certainly, Iran is not keeping their eyes shut. They are going ahead with their nuclear program. And you may find in 2-3 months' time, if this goes on, they may be having a nuclear weapon also with them. And if they have nuclear weapon, I think war will stop. And that is what deterrence is all about. But this particular configuration, which has started 3 days back, to my mind, it may go on for another week, 10 days. Why? Because America, whatever damage it can do to Iran, it cannot bring Iran to its knees. This is a static stalemate. On the other hand, Iran, whatever endurance it can have against the damage cast upon it, it cannot decide the outcome of the war. So this is a static stalemate, and both really want to come to a solution. This is my mind. This is my problem. This is my suspect. And so they want to have the best of the bargain, and that's why this is happening. So some wisdom should prevail to see that some via media is found out, and the war doesn't happen, doesn't go forward. Else, China is also very keen that America be stuck here, and so that in the South China Sea area, 2027 is their target to try to take charge of Taiwan. Let America be stuck here for a long time. So America has to show the wisdom to try to come out, and Israel is not playing a sport in this. They are trying to rock the boat of this MOU or peace accord. Vineet.
All right, some more breaking news coming in now. Well, the US Central Command has said that the Strait of Hormuz remains open to all vessels despite Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps claiming it has closed the strategic waterway. In a post on X, CENTCOM said that US forces are positioned and ready to ensure freedom of navigation. It also accused Iran of unwarranted aggression, harassment, threats, and what it called arbitrary declarations. Let me also bring in at this point in time Captain Sanjay Karve, former Indian Navy officer. Captain Karve, in your opinion, does Iran have the liberty as well as the wherewithal to claim sovereign waters, claim sovereign straits, which do not necessarily belong to it? And is this arm twisting in the longer run going to in fact create deeper problems for Iran?
Vinith, what you have brought out is absolutely right, but I do tend to agree with the Honorable Ambassador and Commander Bhushan about the correct situation. However, the readers need to also, or the viewers need to have a look at the facts. The United States is not a signatory to a UN clause. Iran has signed the UN clause, but he has not ratified. That means legally, both the nations are not bound by the UN treaty of keeping the international sea lanes open. The second fact is, we saw on live media the procession for the late leader in Iran and Iraq. And throughout the procession, there were chants of anti-US. Probably this is something which has unnerved the United States, which did not expect such a grassroots support for the local government. Now, the Israel's intel saying that the President Trump's life was a threat, we really don't know how true it was, or it was Israel's way of stoking the fire or stoking the amber. Technically, or it is very difficult to draw a line in that narrow strait saying, okay, this is my territorial water, this is your EEZ. It is practically impossible, And as far as the ship is concerned, if you remember last time also on a chat on this channel, I had mentioned that that particular ship was also not an Indian flag carrier. This particular ship also was a Cyprus flag carrier owned by a Cyprus company, operated by a company in Dubai. So the noise that we are making, that India is a friendly nation with Iran, and how has Iran fired on an Indian ship? Iran has not fired on an Indian ship. Also, we need to understand that it was the United States who initiated the action when talks were going on and when Iran was in mourning and moving around with the funeral of the late leader. So it's a very tricky scenario. I think the President of the United States has caught himself in a bind. It's like between the devil and the deep sea, as we call it in the Navy. He cannot just walk out arbitrarily. As it is, the NATO has practically disowned him or disowned his support. Same is happening in his home country. If you look at the demographic of United States, the eastern part of the US, Islam is the second most predominant religion after Christianity. The western part of the US, Judaism is the next prominent religion after Christianity. So he has a problem at hand, even in his own country. Iran has obviously realized this, and Iran is trying to choke the Strait of Hormuz for its own benefit. Like Commander Bhushan said, there is no harm in allowing him to take $1 a barrel or $1.50 for a barrel. But the fact remains that US, which is standing on or sitting on a high pedestal, has got no right to do so. Yes, it initiated the UNCLOS, but it has steadfastly refused to sign the treaty, saying that he doesn't have 2/3 majority in the Senate. Iran has signed it, but has not ratified it. US has been blatantly attacking schools, colleges, and hospitals, and then talking of peace. It's a no-win situation for both of them. They have to find a middle path in the interest of everyone. In fact, China would be more interested in this conflict to stop.
All right.
Because
so we have some more breaking news coming in.
China.
Let me come back to you, sir. We have some more breaking news coming in. Well, the Strait of Hormuz remains open to commercial shipping, according to US President Donald Trump, despite Iran's claim that it has closed the strategic waterway. And speaking to the press, Donald Trump said that commercial traffic is continuing to move through the strait. His remarks echo earlier statements from US Central Command, which maintain that Iran does not control the passage and that vessels are continuing to transit normally. Mr. Sanjeev Srivastav, so how are you looking at this conflict? Is this going to go, a notch higher than what we saw a few weeks ago? Do you think that the obliteration threat that Donald Trump has given time and again, he's going to live up to that?
Well, Vinit, now first of all, I would say that there is a continuously prevailing deep trust deficit between the United States of America and Iran, and this crisis has gone, much deeper. The previously held decades-long status quo collapsed on February 28, when the United States of America struck and wiped out the top leadership of Iran, including the Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei. And after that, about 40 days of war which they fought, that created an entirely new situation. The old situation is gone after this war, and to create a new kind of a status quo, to come up to certain understanding for peace, stability, and to have some kind of normalcy in that region will take a long time. In my assessment, this is going to be a prolonged war. This is going to be a long-drawn conflict, and for that, the entire world will have to prepare itself, as Ambassador Baswati Mukherjee ma'am has just said, that alternate strategies must be worked out, and proactively it must be worked out. Our nation is obviously working on it very hard. But since this crisis is going to be a long-drawn crisis, a long-drawn conflict, the world and all responsible nations, and particularly those nations who have been heavily relying on the state of Hormuz, they will have to find alternative strategies. And it should be done in a proactive manner, as I said, so that this entire situation can be dealt with much easily than what it is at this point of time. Having said that, let me say that this kind of behavior which Iranian Islamic regime is showing in the state of Hormuz is totally unacceptable. Yes, I know that United States of America is not a signatory of UNCLOS, and Iran had signed it but not ratified. But there is also, a way to deal with the international waterways. Even if you are not a signatory, there are customary laws, and there are many such, transit point, naturally built points, international waterways, where such this kind of reckless, irresponsible behavior can be shown by other governments, other regimes too. And if that kind of behavior continues to be, showed and it becomes an acceptable norm for in the international community, I believe that this will create another crisis. And obviously, the state of Malacca, the Taiwan Strait, and the state of Gibraltar, and many such other points could come under a serious challenge. And this kind of disruptions can be made by interested parties. So I think such behavior is irresponsible and cannot be accepted as norm. That I must make it clear. And if for this kind of
so we have some more breaking news coming in. Well, the US has reiterated that it is prepared to keep the Strait of Hormuz open for international shipping. US Central Command said its forces are positioned to ensure freedom of navigation and that the strait remains open to all vessels traveling lawfully. CENTCOM also stated that Iran does not control the waterway, adding that maritime traffic continues despite what it described as Iranian threats and harassment. Ambassador Mukherjee, if Iran does not control the waterway, what precedent is it following, to show any kind of a right over allowing or disallowing vessels to cross through this passage?
I completely agree with those of my co-panelists who say that under no circumstance should the international community, whether it's US or India or the EU or anyone else, agree to pay Iran a fee, because it will create a precedent. Even if we say, and I agree, that in Bharat Sarkar, we often make exceptions and say this is not to create a precedent. That's a typical Bharat Sarkar way of handling tricky situations. But this is not acceptable at all. And this is something which the Americans will never accept, because if Trump accepts it, he loses the midterms immediately. It cannot happen. As far as India is concerned, we have systematically made it that we will not agree, we will not pay a penny either to Iran or to Oman, because it is a violation also of customary law, quite apart from the law of the Sea Convention, and it will create a precedent in Straits of Malacca, etc., etc. For that matter, we can also do the same, the Arabian Sea or the Bay of Bengal. So the point here is that you are actually, by agreeing to pay Iran and Oman, is also stretching out its greedy palm on this matter, you are actually you are weaponizing free waterways. It's as simple as that. You are allowing the weaponization of free waterways, and Iran, by threatening that it's going to start once again attacking the American bases in its neighborhood, should understand that now its neighbors have decided to strike back, which they can easily. And that will result in a greater escalation of the conflict, which will 100% affect not just oil prices, but lots of other things, because there are so many things which are dependent on this precious oil and the CNG, etc. coming through. So we will have to, on this instance, I'm sorry, Vineet, we will have to agree with the Americans and say that we cannot accept it. It's too dangerous a precedent, and it will definitely affect free waterways globally. Secondly, as far as the US saying that they can assure safe passage, they cannot. How can they? It's a very narrow waterway, and there they will escort maybe a few of them, but they can't save all of them. And finally, Vineet, I would strongly suggest that we make a distinction between carriers which have the Indian flag, which Iran has never attacked, and carriers which have other flags, but which are operated by an Indian crew, because we are one of the countries like China, which have very large number of Indian nationals working on this kind of commercial shipping, merchant navy, etc. And so it is quite normal that when these vessels come under attack, some of our nationals sadly may get affected, may even lose their lives. But we can't say that Iran so far has attacked a single vessel with an Indian flag. That's not true. But it has, but we have lost Indians because they are operating vessels under other flags. Iran should itself consider the consequences of its action, that if the Straits of Hormuz get blocked by a major accident, then it will take months to clear it up, to clean it up. In which case, it would lead to a desperate war-like situation in that entire region, which is exactly what Netanyahu wants. In fact, I am convinced, like some of my co-panelists, that this threat which the Israelis told Americans, and Trump became ballistic as always. I think he must be a patient of very high blood pressure. He says that they have threatened to take me out before they take me out, I'll take out all these people, etc., etc. We don't know whether it's true or not, because maybe the Israelis think that by again dragging in Trump directly and saying Israel wants to assassinate him, they can look forward to the continuation of the conflict while they finish off Hezbollah in Lebanon. I think I would not put it past them, because he's a very smart guy, Netanyahu, much, much smarter than Trump. So I would not put it past him at all. I think that the American intelligence should immediately confirm whether this is true or not. And certainly it is very, very interesting also that he changed his aircraft while flying back from Turkey, because the new aircraft made of gold given to him by Qatar does not have the same security devices as the older one, which means that Trump himself is nervous of being assassinated. He should have thought of that before he started the practice of external assassination of leaders of other countries. He should realize that it can come right back to eliminate him, because once you have alienated a huge country like Iran, you have strengthened their hardcore regime, which has become extremely loyal. The people have become loyal to them when they were fighting with them earlier. You can't rule out assassination.
Right, ma'am.
What is-
Ma'am,
what
we have
is-
some breaking news also coming in at this point in time. Well, the United Arab Emirates has strongly condemned Iran's latest missile strikes across the region, calling them a blatant violation of the sovereignty of neighboring countries and a serious threat to regional security. The UAE Foreign Ministry also expressed solidarity with Jordan, Qatar, Bahrain and Kuwait, all of which were targeted in the attacks, urging efforts to prevent further escalation as well. Commander Bhushan Devan, Iran once again targeting these countries for no fault of theirs. Obviously, they have alliances with the United States, but this is a way of conducting affairs in war, which is not going to bring about the best of results for Iran.
No. In fact, I submit that I beg to differ with you. If America has to be brought to its heels, its bases in the Gulf, GCCs should be demolished, which Iran is doing. And number one. Number two, after this Iran misadventure of Trump, American predominance in Gulf is gone for a six. And these countries, GCC countries, I am certain they will not depend on American umbrella of defense through their bases, American bases and so on, for years to come. And also, they would not like to pick up a fight with Iran in any case. So they will not even attack back Iran, because Iran is attacking not them; it's attacking the military bases of America. And secondly, the point is, we are talking about rule of law and so on, which this kind of misguidance is fed to all of us in the third world by the Americans. What is this rule of law? Trump has also said we'll call it state of Trump. Trump has also come and attacked on 20th February. I am saying let him pay Iran. Like JCPOA was signed, I recall, was signed in 2017 by Obama. A lot of cash was given to Iran. If he wants to stop the war, he may lose his throne. That's a different story. Well, not throne, 2 years more. He has got to go as a lame duck. If he loses, he does this. But war has to be stopped. He should pay the money to Iran. If you don't allow Iran to take money from natural waterway, legal position is correct. You can't allow a natural waterway, anybody charging money because I'm a neighbor. So that should not be done. But America came and rocked the boat, right? So they should be asked to pay the money. Who will tell the cat? Who will tell them? Whatever they do is gospel truth. We don't ask them. Iran should not do it, agreed. Let America pay, remove sanctions, do
All right.
this and
So
that.
just hold on to that thought. Some more breaking news coming in. The U.S. Embassy in Oman has advised American citizens in Dukm and Musandam Governorate to shelter in place amidst rising regional tensions. The embassy has urged residents to remain indoors, stay away from windows where possible, and continue to monitor official updates. It added that it is closely watching the situation and is ready to assist U.S. citizens ready to leave the Middle East. We've run out of time, but I appreciate everybody who joined us and poured in their perspective for this escalating conflict in the Middle East once again. We take a short break. Be right back.
देखिए, सिर्फ मेरे कहने पर टर्म इंश्योरेंस मत लीजिए।